It's Shift and Steer, just me, Brad, and Matt. And Aaron's out on some excursion. He's going to take that, you know what I always think about? He said he was going to take that Land Rover that he got all decked out. He's going to take it deep back into the hills. And I thought, what happens if it breaks down back there?
Well, I mean, the chances of that happening are so slim that
no, wait, this is Aaron's vehicle. Remember, this is Aaron's vehicle.
Can't imagine how that could possibly happen.
I think what it is you hike out and you have a really, really long winch cable, and then you put it in a tree in your front yard, and then you just hit the button and it pulls it back, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. We'll see. He'll have tales to tell. And today we're going to also talk about Allegheny metal and stainless steel cars. And we're going to talk about how you can get a deal on a ZO6 Corvette or a ZL1 Camaro and maybe some other stuff. And who helps us do this, Matt?
Yeah, our friends at Geico. Though we are apart these days, we are sharing more. And Geico would just like to say thanks for that. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves, and you're sharing your DIY haircut fails. And thanks for sharing your inner lip sync star. Now it's Geico's turn to share as well. And they're doing the Geico Give Back. It's a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. And because Geico is committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts the full policy term. So visit geico.com/giveback for more information. That's geico.com/giveback.
Come on, give back, Matt.
Done.
Getting
my 15% refund.
15%. Nice. So there we go. There's both of us at one time. You missed us. You missed my savage dance moves, man.
No, I saw them. Yeah.
Oh, you had to see them. You're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for that.
No problem. No problem.
Have you seen the spy photos of the next Honda Civic Type R?
I have not.
All dressed up in the camouflage and everything. And I think it's just the Honda guys trying to screw with people, but the way they have it all taped up, they kind of like taped it up to be like the kidney grill for the BMW. So it kind of looks like the Honda Type R, but it also kind of looks like a BMW in the front. And I think they're just having some fun with it.
You think they're doing some tape mystery?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. The 2022 Honda Civic Next Generation spied in Type R form.
Yeah, but if you even look at the headlights and the way they taped up the grill, you were like, oh, that could be kind of a BMW thing going on. But and then it starts turning into Honda Civic Type R. Did you get a chance to drive the current models Type R?
I didn't. You were the only one who got that.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, it's still it's hard to explain. Like, it is what it is. It's a little boy racer-ish. It's front-wheel drive.
I was just going to say, it's kind of a boy racer car. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a rocket ship, but it definitely moves pretty good. It definitely handles the turns. It is a lot of fun to drive. It definitely feels a lighter weight and more nimble than a lot of the things that we've been driving recently. I mean, it's not supercar territory. So when you jump into a McLaren, that's not exactly what this is, but obviously just a fraction of the price.
Well, yeah,
but it looks kind of cool. It was a fun car to drive.
Now, how fast was that little rocket ship there?
I don't recall all the specs on it. It was I'll dig into it while we move on, but it's been a while since I drove it, so I don't really recall all the specs.
But yeah, you definitely are right here. They took and taped it up just to get some discussion going, it looks like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right. It's kind of fun. So yeah, it's what we thought it would be. We figured it'd be about mid 5 second range, like 0 to 60, and that seems to be the case. Mid to low. I mean, 5.4 or something around that range.
now, wouldn't you say this Civic does look a little larger though?
I think the spy photos do look a little bit larger, and I think the wing maybe is a little less crazy, but didn't Honda just come out with a version of the Type R that can be wingless if you want it. You know how Porsche does the GT3,
Right.
and then they have the GT3 Touring, which is sort of the more subtle version of it. I think Honda did that a little bit. Definitely good questions for our buddy Dave Merrick at some point.
Exactly.
But there was also a couple upgrades to it as well, as far as cooling and whatnot. And they all seem to be very effective. Just the way the NSX got not really a facelift. They got a couple little exterior things, some new aerodynamics, but no real change in the power. I think they might have changed sway bars or something a little bit, and aero, and just some programming of the existing power. And it's a pretty significant jump in performance when you've got the gauges out there, right? Like if you drove the car, I don't know that your seat of the pants version is going to find that much of a difference. But when you get the gauges out there, they're like, oh yeah, this is quite a bit faster around the track, and maybe a little bit more comfortable in the process. So they've been doing some revisions and stuff that as well. So they did it on the NSX, and then they did it on the current Civic Type R, and both have been proven to be pretty good, pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, they keep improving them, and it's a cool little car. I mean, if you want an entry level car, I mean, meaning as far as something that most guys can afford and go tool around and race around and even do maybe a little bit of autocross or something, it'd be a great car to have.
And you can hot rod it. There's already tons of mods and stuff for it.
Tons of parts, yeah.
And I know we both love the NSX. I love that car.
Yeah.
A lot. There's all sorts of deals and incentives on it. I think it's an incredibly easy car to drive, incredibly fun car to drive. It handles great. It moves great. The launch control in it is fantastic. It kicks in those front electric motors into an all-wheel drive mode.
It's definitely a supercar that you could literally drive to the office every day and probably not have any issues with it.
No, except the one feature I wish it had, especially around that price point, is the front axle lift.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are a couple instances, getting in and out of some parking structures and some steep angles for sure. That
4 years ago, it didn't exist on any cars, any of the supercars we drove. Now that it has, it's like, it should not be an option, especially with the big splitters and everything, and how expensive the carbon fiber is to replace. It should definitely be there. Yeah,
I was just going to say that. The big splitters are one thing, but they're expensive as well. When you get a carbon fiber package on some of these cars, and it's $6,000, $7,000, $8,000.
$6,000, $8,000. My buddy, who has his Lamborghini Aventador.
That's going to be a little different.
His SVR or SRV or whatever it is.
Just the SV, I think.
Yeah, SV. Thank you. He had me come over. He goes, oh, I got the factory package for it. I took it down and had it put on. And I'm like looking at it. I go, wow, that's really cool. It's nice. He's showing me it's the doors inside and outside. I go, yeah, wow, that looks really good. He goes, yeah, man, it was like $30,000. I'm like, holy crap, So that's one of those things that.
That's a Civic Type R.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he told me, he goes, but I kept all the factory stuff because if I ever sell it, I'm going to keep it because there's somebody else out there that'll buy it from me, Yeah, for $20,000. Well, yeah, but hey, better than nothing because that's the kind of thing you put $30,000 package on it. When you go to resell that car, it's kind of like not even there. It's not, it's not one of those.
Yeah, you're right.
That anybody gives you any money for. So
it's interesting because I've done like you, we've done a lot of cars over the years, and even when I buy a car from the dealer, I'm like, oh yeah, let's, while we're here, let's change the wheels and do a couple things to it. I always go and get all the stock parts. I know a lot of shops are like, this is the upgrade. We'll just keep it. Like, no. I always get all the stock parts. At the very least, I want to sell it all.
Yeah.
And
what do you think they do with it? There's a whole resale market for that stuff. And I have done that, and years later, it's like some of that stuff's worth some money, and some of it's worth some money right away. I did that Jaguar, years back, and I put Recaro seats in it. The seats I pulled out, I got like, I'm going to say $1,500 a piece, and the guy paid to ship them to Canada because they were the ones that had all the different, the heating, the cooling, and he had he was restoring a car that had a car fire, and he goes, those seats are like $4,000 a piece if I go to the dealership and buy them, So he was happy, I was happy.
Yeah, it makes sense. And a lot of times when we do these projects, we remove parts like that and put it in storage early on in the car's life. So you go pull the plastic bag off of it, and 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, you're like, these seats are brand new.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, talking about new cars and buying stuff and things like that, with all of what's been going on, the car rental places are getting clobbered. And, Avis, somebody who I rent from a lot, I've been getting these little coupons from them that say, rent any car for the same price. I went over to the Orange County Airport, and first of all, they've got almost all the cars out in long-term parking, and you walk down in there and there's hardly anybody there. And I was able to rent a car from them for $20 a day. And they said, what do you want? They go, you can have any car we have except for one of our, super premiums. Like they have Porsches down there and Corvettes and Aston Martins. And I said, okay, give me the full-size Suburban. And they go, okay, because they aren't renting anything.
Yeah.
And along with that, Hertz, who is really struggling right now. Remember, we talked about this on the show a couple of years ago, that to celebrate their anniversary, they were doing the ZO6 Corvettes and the ZL1 Camaros. And Hendrick actually built the ZL1 Camaros. They're liquidating all of them. They're getting rid of them because they need money. And they have a website set up, and you can go to it, and they are selling these cars. And some of them, Matt, there's some deals, comparatively on here. Like a couple of the ZL1 Camaros, I guess people didn't want to pay the $200 a day to rent them because they only have 3,300 miles on them. They're like, it'd be like buying a dealer, car. And they're, fairly under the market. Like ZO6 Corvette, which is a Hertz ZO6 Corvette with 15,000 miles. It's going for $50,000. And Kelly Blue Book on that car is 68.
But is it yellow?
It's yellow, but think about it like this. Well, the Camaro looks a little better because it's that black with the gold stripes,
Yeah, okay.
But think about it like this. What did people think about those old junky Mustangs that people were renting and driving around, and now they're worth a ton of money, those Shelbys? Or if you just wanted a ZL1 Camaro and you don't want to pay the dealer premium or the tax for the brand new car, maybe go grab one of those. 3,300 miles, it couldn't have been hammered on too bad. And you might
No,
have a
it's probably
collectible there.
fine. Yeah, I'm sure it's in great shape and possibly some good deals out there. But overall, the car rental companies are going to have a tough time surviving. Hertz, we
Yeah.
know, like we said, is facing possible bankruptcy and looking to sell as many cars as possible. So it starts to bring up the question: will that affect the used car market if they have to liquidate 550,000 cars all over the country? It's going to flood the market with a bunch of additional used cars. I mean, 500,000 doesn't seem like a huge number, but it's not insignificant. That's a lot to sort of happen all at the same time. I mean, I don't know how many plain white Ford Focuses you might want at your house, but there are quite a few pretty decent cars in those lineups.
Well, you look at it that way. It also, you've got to look at it from the standpoint of, so if we lose some of the, if because of this, we see consolidation, or we see a well-known, rental car agency disappear, a year, 2 years from now, it's going to make rental cars that much more expensive when you do have to travel, because, that has always been, people never think about it. They just think about, oh yeah, jump in a car and, rent it. That is a very expensive, I guess that doesn't work, putting it on do not disturb. So the thing about it is that we cannot look at the market, because it's very expensive. They got to warehouse all those cars. The big guys have to have prime real estate at major airports, and it's city after city after city. And, it's expensive. People never think about it. Those companies are very, very pricey. Didn't Ford buy or own Hertz or somebody in the 80s? Didn't they buy into it? And then they even got out of it because it was so costly?
Yeah, I think they did. They were definitely involved with it. And who knows what other manufacturers were involved with car rental companies at the time. But also, because they're all hurting, it doesn't make much sense for one to go in and buy another one. An Enterprise won't buy a Hertz because Enterprise is hurting. They're having a hard time renting cars. They don't need to buy a company and a whole fleet of cars and beef things up. So it just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know who goes, other than maybe some investment firm that can see a potential future. I don't know who even buys a company like that.
An investment banking firm or a second tier, could go, we need that. It's just like gates, how airlines will assume, because then they can get those gates, because how many times you've gone to rent a car and they're off-site. So you got to get in the shuttle and go 20 minutes off the airport to get to your car.
Yeah.
Well, we buy Hertz. Now we're able to be at the airport, and it's going to take us up. And maybe their investment bankers go, yeah, that's a good move, or maybe Uber goes, we're going to buy them. And, who knows? We see some really goofy stuff in the investment banking world sometimes.
Yeah.
The average guy goes, what are they thinking? But there's an ulterior motive. Just like when, as an example there, it looked really strange when Speed Network was bought by Fox, because they bought it, got rid of the channel, got rid of every program on it, but the real underlying reason was they didn't care about the station, they didn't care about the shows. They wanted the 11 million households for their sports network they were building, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's always some reason, Matt. The money guys, it's the big banks, man. No, but hey, have you ever seen these cars? The first ones were built in the 30s. Then there was some built in the 60s that were all stainless steel bodies. Have you seen these? There was There was some Lincoln Continentals,
Yeah.
classic. There were some Thunderbirds, and I believe 39 Fords, if I'm not mistaken. And what it was at a time, Allegheny Metals was trying to tell everyone that in the 30s, hey, use stainless steel because that would be so much better. It's not going to rust. Your cars are going to last longer and everything like that. And so they did a partnership with Ford, and they talked them into doing a run of cars out of stainless steel, and they got through a 10 cars, and it totally wiped out the stamping dies at the factory. 10 cars, because the difference between the metal and the stainless. And Ford said, whoa, wait a minute. So they finished those 10 cars. Allegheny used them as sales tools and had top sales guys, had them at trade shows, things like that, and then brought them all back. When after 100,000 miles, the chassis, the motors, everything were worn out, and the bodies were still like brand new. So they kept them.
So the pitch worked.
Yeah, exactly. But they just needed different tooling. And so years later, they talked Ford into doing it again with the Thunderbirds. And then again, they did a handful of Lincoln Continental convertibles. Well, all these cars have, all of them are accounted for. They've all been at Allegheny's museum and a couple museums in the Philadelphia area that they had donated them to. And they've never been for sale except for one car that did get sold to Leo Gephardt, who's a big Arizona collector. And it was awesome because when you look at photos of that car, Matt, he polished it. Stainless steel, and it looks incredible. But that car was sold at RM Monterey, I think 4 years ago, and it had a reserve, or not a reserve, but an estimate of $1.5 million, and it went for $560,000, I believe it was. And just because the story wasn't really told is what my opinion is. But now that Allegheny is suffering, again, another company that's suffering and having some problems, for the very first time, they're going to offer 3 of the cars. And it'll be the first time they're offered as a set. You get one of the 30s era cars, you get one of the Thunderbirds, and one of the Lincoln Continental convertibles. And they're going to sell them in September. Worldwide Auctions is going to sell them. And they haven't even done an estimate on it yet because they've got a ton of interest. And they have a lot of people that want to, think of the collectors that want to own these. And it's the only ones that are out there are in their personal collection. The one owner that has the one car, the others are all in like the Henry Ford Museum or in, the Natural History Museum, things like that. And they really are incredible cars. My favorite has got to be that Lincoln Continental. That car's so cool anyway, with the suicide doors and everything like that. But having an all stainless steel, you could go back to the future in that thing, right?
I guess you could. I'm curious why worldwide auction.
I know. I kind of wondered about that too, but
not the most popular, not the most successful of auction companies. Obviously runs a business, gets stuff done, sure. But, for something like this, I think you're expecting just maybe a little bit more cachet, probably one of the bigger auctions. I'm not quite sure why this happened this way, but
I felt the same way when I looked to the bottom to see who was auctioning it. I thought it was going to say Barrett Jackson, RM, or RM.
It could be Gooding,
but Gooding or somebody, because they are, especially, and I'm not really a big fan of selling cars in a set, because whenever you see that, that really to me says more the owner wants to keep them together, not the buyer.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. We see that a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett Jackson does a few of those things, and I don't think Barrett Jackson dictates that. I think the seller does, but it is kind of weird to do it that way. We've seen sometimes the pair go for pretty good money, but I would say more often than not, it doesn't really.
No, more often than not, I believe that they would go for more individually, because
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I agree.
It's just I think it's like in this case, I honestly believe that Allegheny wants them all to stay together. Well, let's face it, guys, once those vehicles are sold, whoever owns them can then split them up and do whatever they want with them. So we might see an investor, he might buy all three of them, and then we see one show up at Gooding, one show up at RM, and one show up at Barrett. You never know.
Right. So
On the market.
Whatever they were trying to do by keeping it together potentially can get lost anyway. I never really understood that. We've been down this road as well, like buying some vintage race cars, and someone will say, I want to sell it to you, but you should keep it this way. You should keep the livery and blah, 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 and not turn it back. I'm like, then don't sell it.
Yeah.
Like if that's how you want to see the car every day, that's how you see it when you walk into your garage or your warehouse, then don't sell it. Even today, very famously, like Elon Musk was ranting about how he wants to sell all of his assets, like sell all his
Bel Air mansions and all.
All of his houses and stuff. So he's got like 4 or 5 properties totaling $100 million, all up for sale. He's just going to rent something. And now he's all about the Earth and Mars, right? Like he's like, I'm just going to focus on going to Mars. And he feels like owning a house somehow distracts him from doing that.
Yeah.
But he has
damn, those gardeners keep bothering me. I'm never going to get to Mars.
Yeah. So he's got Gene Wilder's house, his former house. Funny guy. We love Gene Wilder and all of his movies, of course. And he bought the house. It's very authentic. It's sort of a time capsule of architecture and possibly a bunch of stuff with Gene Wilder. Elon Musk bought it, preserved it. I have total respect for that. And now he says, I'm selling all my houses with the condition of the Gene Wilder house can't be destroyed or ruined or taken down or really changed. I don't think you get to say that. I don't think you really get to say it. It's a little too arrogant. Like, if you want the house to stay the way it is, keep it. But once it's sold, somebody can do whatever they want. It doesn't mean they're going to do something to it. They may want to buy it because of it being Gene Wilder's house and the authenticity and all the history and stuff to it. Of course, that's a very good reason to buy that place, like a lot of these cars. But once you sell it and you give me money, you get to do whatever you want. If you want to go out there with a sledgehammer and a blowtorch, just go do it.
No, that I've heard that over the years. There have been some other sales predicated on that, like for so many years or whatever. The only person who can really say that is the Historical Society. And
right.
If they say, oh, this is historical landmark and it can't be modified in any way and things like that. But yeah, it's exactly like saying, hey, Matt, I'm going to sell you my car, but you got to agree you can't never change the wheels, because those are the wheels that look great on that car. And then, maybe they do right now, but 2 years from now, you might go, well, I want to upgrade to some 26s because that's how I'm rolling,
That's how I'm rolling these days.
I know that's you. That's you. and you want to change them, but you go, oh, wow, I told that guy. You're going to go, I told him, that was back then. But I mean, you saw my post that I'm trying to acquire a KZ, a late 70s, mid to late 70s Kawasaki KZ1000 or 900.
Yeah.
And I talked to a guy who's up in the high desert, and he has a beautiful bike. It is almost bone stock. He did the one thing I would do to mine, a Kirker power pipe, a 4-into-1 power pipe.
Okay.
And that's all those bikes needed. They sounded great. They rode great. And he told me, he goes, now what are you going to do with it? I go, I just, I want one. I said, they were the cool bikes in high school, and I always wanted one. And he goes, okay, because I've had guys calling me, and I had one guy want to buy it, but he said he was going to make it into a bobber bike. And a couple guys like that were going to, customize it and stuff. And I don't want to sell it to them. And I'm kind of like, dude, I mean, at a point, once it's gone, right? It's not yours anymore. What, these people get really close to these, and you just can't, you just got to say, it's gone. It's not mine anymore.
Okay. Why do you want one?
Dude, in high school, when I used to street race my Chevelle, the KZ1000 and the KZ900 Kawasaki's were the fastest bikes around. And in Omaha, Nebraska, there were a lot of guys that rode them. There was a guy that rode them to my high school with a long swing arm in the back and wheelie bars. And I mean, they raced these things on the street, and I used to call them, because we'd be where we would do our Friday and Saturday night cruise. Was a place called National Automotive on Dodge Street. Across the street was McDonald's. If you had the fast car or the really cool car, you got to park at National, and we'd be sitting in National, and you'd hear this group of about maybe 10 or 12 bikes coming down from about 2 miles away, and we'd call them the killer bees, because those high-pitched motors through those open Kirker power pipes, you'd hear them coming from miles away, and they'd be like, ee! And those guys were so fast, and there was only one way to beat them that I found. And I can say it now, Matt, but I was racing a guy on a KZ1000 one night. I had my car set up on drag slicks, and it had the 50-50 90-10 shocks so that we could get weight transfer on the street, the whole deal. And this guy wanted to race, and it's kind of your reputation, and so I thought, so we negotiated how many car lengths I'd get and everything like that. And when you were racing a motorcycle in the dark on a street like that out by the airport, you would see that little headlight kind of bobbing, they would kind of bounce and flutter, and you'd see them in your rearview mirror, and you just go, and it would just be coming on you like a bat out of hell. And there were times like I'd raced them, and you'd see that white stripe, which usually was 2 cars parked on either side of the road, and you'd break the beam. And you'd see that, and you'd think, I got this guy, man, yeah. And right when you thought you were about ready to cross, that bike would go, I mean, just be gone, And so one night I'm racing this KZ1000 for money, and I'm going, and I'm about to that point where I thought, okay, this is it. It's gonna get me at the big end, and I kind of looked in my rearview mirror. And when I looked in my rearview mirror, I kind of turned the steering wheel a little bit, and I noticed that headlight went. He thought I was crossing into his lane, and I went, "Oh, that worked," because he couldn't catch me then. By the time he got back on the throttle, so about a month later, I was racing another guy, and I just kind of just like an inch drifted a teeny bit towards the line. Same thing. That headlight went, and I thought, okay, that's how you beat a motorcycle.
There you go. That's your move.
If he thinks you're coming into his lane, I mean, they're not going to go for the big end. But no, it was, and I've just always wanted one of those. I mean, ideally, I'd love to have a stock one, and then one with a long swing arm, wheelie bar, and solid struts in the back. I've got some pictures of some that I took of back in the day, and they're just such wicked bikes. And I love
So
them.
this
They're
is where
cool.
you are in your life, is you want to get on a vintage bike and drive it around LA.
Well, maybe around my neighborhood. I don't trust the people out here to drive
Exactly.
around
That's my
LA.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's my point.
I had a Harley for a short time once, and I don't trust the people on these roads. You're oblivious. They don't see you. So,
Plus, you just got a brand new dog. What are you gonna do? You can't get in an accident now.
Dude, like Charlotte always says, he's got lots of insurance. And whenever she tells people that, I get a little nervous, Matt. Get a little nervous. So, have you ever liked motorcycles?
I have. I never was super big into motorcycles. In high school, my brother's a couple years older, got into Ducatis. He had a Ducati Monster, and I rode that a little bit.
Monster did not hold their value.
Oh, they didn't. No, I haven't been following it, but and he had a couple mods on his as well, the exhaust and the sprocket in the back, which multiplied torque more. So as you're driving it, every time you hit the gas a little bit, just to like nudge it, the front end comes off the ground, and it was fun, but a little nerve wracking. And I've been on a few other bikes over the years, but never really owned anything.
The problem with motorcycles and me, and I know a lot of other people, is you get on a fast super bike or dirt bike. I mean, I've done it with dirt bikes too. You change your personality. It's just that power that's so instantaneous and you can get yourself into trouble. I mean, I remember in high school, a friend of mine bought a brand new KZ750 when they were 2-stroke. And those were super pipey bikes where you barely touched the throttle, and that thing was, like you said, in a wheel stand. And I'd ridden all kinds of, I raced motocross and everything like that, and he brought that over to the speed shop I worked on. I go, hey, can I ride it? And he's like, yeah, man, jump on. I jumped on it. I will never forget. It was the pipiest bike I'd ever ridden. I got on it, and I thought, I'm going to show off a little. And I gave it some gas, let the throttle out, and that thing went up on its rear. And to me, it felt like it was straight up. But all I remember is both my legs came off. I was like all the way across the street with both legs out like this, holding on for bloody murder. And I couldn't, because when you're doing that, you're pulling the throttle back at the same time. So all I could do is pull in the clutch, and the front end dropped before I hit the curb across the street. And then I kind of got up the street. And then I came back and I was like, haha, you thought I was really going to wipe out your bike, didn't you? My heart's going like this, but I'm trying to be all cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you thought that.
Sure.
The guy goes, dude, I've never seen anybody do a wheelie like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, of course you have it.
Yeah, that's how good I am. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
But that
totally
bike,
intentional.
Man, anybody who rode a 2-stroke KZ knows what I'm talking about. Those things are just wicked evil, and they will take you for a ride like they did for me.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So are you gonna get it? You're gonna do the deal?
I'm trying to get this guy. What was really cool was it was a Facebook ad in the Facebook shopping area, and he looked in, and he had just moved out here from Texas, and he knew we had 2 mutual friends, which are car guys, and so I said, man, ask him about, because I'm trying to trade one of my luxury watches for it. And the guy was interested in that. And he was interested in a trade. It said so right in his ad. And, we'll see. I don't know. He hasn't called me back yet, but you know how it is. He wanted a car trailer. And he goes, that's what I really wanted to trade for. And I said, I'll get the watch and trade the watch for a car trailer, but it's, we'll see what happens. I'll find one somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Well,
maybe somebody listening has one. I did have one guy get a hold of me and say, hey, Brad, I've got a perfect original 79 Kawasaki ZR. And I'm like, yeah, I can't afford that. The ZR was like the top. It was the baddest bike. And it would be like the difference between a Mustang and a Shelby, Mustang. And I usually when you see them, they're in the, 15,000 for a perfect one. And I just don't want to spend that much on something that I'm going to ride maybe a few times a year, it's
right.
Ride it on a Saturday to the office or something like that, so.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a cool bike too.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, if he's out there and he wants to trade for a watch, I'm down with that.
yeah, maybe 2 watches.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. 2 watches.
You got 2 hands. Why not 2 watches?
Buy one, sell one. But anyways, yeah, so that's what's going on in my world. We're getting ready. I'm thinking about, Matt, and we can I'll toss it out right here on the air, which is we spoke on CarCast this week when you asked me to come on there with you. Thank you. Is that with so many car events, Woodward Dream Cruise, Good Guys, all these things being canceled for the summer, that I really feel like Cars and Coffee are going to be incredible this year because guys have these vehicles, they want to bring them out. I say, why don't we try and do a shift and steer Cars and Coffee here at Bond Speed? You could bring your F-150 down, I could drag out my El Camino, and maybe we wheel the dragster out of the back and put it on display, and maybe we get a few, get some people to come down. We'll do a live broadcast and have an open house in Cars and Coffee. People, it might be kind of fun. Do it on a Sunday.
I think I'd be down for that for sure. I think, I could definitely bring the truck down. It's going in the shop to get a few things fixed up that we talked about on CarCast. Probably the most important thing is I'm getting the air fixed. So you got to have some AC
because it's getting warmer.
And it's definitely getting warmer, and that's a little bit of a drive for me. But the other thing you guys might want to see, I can have my buddy Dave bring it down, is we pretty much finished up the BMW M3.
Oh, you
got
did?
We got the new tune in it, fixed all the cooling issues. We've put in a few miles on it, and we're driving it. First of all, we're doing all the durability testing stuff with it. You would kind of expect at this point. It's got the new upgraded Vortex supercharger on it, and new cooling system, new fans. Did a lot of work on that, and did the pulse width module on the fan. So now it all soft starts. It doesn't hit the fuses too hard, and it ramps up as it needs it. And then we're closing the hood, running the air full blast, full cold, and letting it sit in the sun and idle to see see how long it is before the water all blows out the bottom. Right. And so far it's not doing any of that. And we're monitoring the temps, and it all seems to be good. And of course, when you drive it, it's fine. But we just want to make sure it's going to last. So we're kind of thinking at this point, because it seems to be running pretty good, then winding out 8,000 RPM, pulling the whole time. I think we're going to take it over to Full Throttle Customs, or
over to Ray,
Ray's shop, and just throw it on the dyno. We don't really need a tune. We're just going to check the air fuel ratio and see if we can get some dyno numbers on it to see what it's going to do. I know he's got a Mustang dyno there, so there's some correction factors and things like that. It's not quite the same numbers as the dyno jet, but I think we made about 410 at the tires with it before on Ray's dyno, before a tune and some of the upgrades that we've done to it. Before, with an old tune, with an old 15-year-old tune, and I think it was the normal S trim, and then we have a TI trim now. It's just a slight bump. Oh, and the intake tube coming off the supercharger down to the front of the car was like a flex tube that the original shop did, and it kind of smashed into like a football shape. And went underneath the car, and it always seemed like it'd be a pain in the ass. So Dave got a bunch of stainless steel pipe, and just did it all by hand, just pie cut everything and welded it all together. And we have a completely mandrel bend 3-inch pipe going down to the air filter down to the front of the car. It's got a CSL BMW front end. So there's sort of like a hole in that's right on the air filter. So it seems to run.
Well, it'd be good to see it back out on the road,
so
man.
bring that down there as well. I'd love to show it off, and we'll show.
I'll tell you guys. Let us know. I'm thinking maybe we got to get a little bit more into the summer. Maybe like sometime in July, and let us know on social media if you'd be down for that. If you'd show up, because the more people that tell us, the more we'll do to make it good. And what I mean is Matt and I can reach out to some of our factory connections and maybe have them bring a car and put it on display, so that not only do we talk and drive an NSX, we get Acura to bring one down and just park it there so you can slather on it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get, some of the other cars we've driven, like from Lamborghini or from Aston Martin, so you can check them out. And then we could reach out to like Superformance, and we could reach out to some of our buddies like Aunt Anstead and people that live in the area and get them, to come by. So let us know if you'd be down for this. If you'd show up, wouldn't cost you anything. It'd just be a cars and coffee. And we do it here at Bond Speed in Orange County, California, maybe in July. So let us know. Yeah. We'll, you let us know and we'll let you know.
It sounds good, and like you said, everybody come down with whatever you're comfortable with. You wear your masks, wear your gloves, whatever. It's just it's all outside anyway. So
right, exactly.
It'll be fun.
And what we'll do is I'll get one of those T-shirt gun things, and the donuts, we'll shoot them donuts so nobody touches them. Just boom, and whoever catches it, see, nobody else touched it.
Yeah, perfect.
That's
donut launcher.
Hey, let's talk after the show. Maybe we have a new thing, food dispensing at special events. So hot dogs and hamburgers, and the sodas might be a little hard, but we'll figure that out.
Not impossible.
Yeah, not impossible.
Not impossible. So, squirt guns.
All right. I guess you got anything else?
No, just keep following on our social media. Always posting some fun stuff. So you can follow me at Motorator, and I try to get to all the comments and stuff that you guys talk about. So love that you guys are on there.
Hey, and it sounds like you guys are really digging these Zoom things. We're getting caught up. We've got 2 more episodes we put up last week on Facebook. That's where you find it, on Facebook. We will be uploading them to our YouTube channel at some point, but just understand that it does take hours and hours to upload these things to YouTube. So we're a little limited on time there. But this week we will be putting 2 more episodes up till the time we get caught up on back episodes, and then we'll put them always up the week after this airs on iTunes. Then the following week it will be up, the Zoom show will be up on Facebook and in the future YouTube. Because we got to get our YouTube channel cranking so that we can do a deal like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
fantastic.
Okay, we'll do a quarter of what Joe got. All right. I mean.
Yeah, sure.
So, but hey, and follow me on Instagram. It's Bradley_Fanshaw, and be sure to go to iTunes and give us that 5-star rating and give us a comment, because that is what keeps us up in the ratings there. We appreciate it. Aaron will be back with us next week, and I think we're good to go,
have
man.
Stories to tell.
Big stories. Let's hope that it's not some story about how I didn't know if I was going to be alive or not because the bear attacked or whatever. So anyways.
Right on. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, man. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great Memorial Day weekend that just happened.